is it fair enough to say former President Jacob Zuma started the appeal, the now President Cyril Ramaphosa pulling back, basically pulling out of the legal fight?
Yeah, well, definitely. It means that Cyril Ramaphosa was basically appointed by the court in December last year to appoint the NDPP as the deputy president, because the president at the time, Jacob Zuma, was conflicted, now is stepping back and saying that I don't want to get involved with this, and essentially upholding the decision that has been taken by the High Court in this matter, that there should be a vacancy declared in the position of the NDPP. But here's something very important, what's been missed out here. So remember that the High Court also made a ruling and a finding that because President Jacob Zuma at the time was conflicted, he cannot appoint the NDPP, and it must be the deputy president who appoints the NDPP. And the basis of President Jacob Zuma's court battle, or appealing the court ruling, was that you can't subvert my powers as the president of the country, because those powers are vested in me in appointing the NDPP. So with this ruling staying as it is and not being appealed or being upheld as it is, that means that this will remain the status quo. Whoever becomes president, whether it is Cyril Ramaphosa, whether it is the next president, that person must know that whenever a court finds that they are conflicted, then it is the deputy president that must take the decision in terms of hiring who becomes the NPA head.
All right, so he's in fact accepting that, but that whole conflict issue is now put aside because there is no conflict. Shaun Abrahams himself still fighting for his job, so he's left in the fight. Yes,
he's arguing that his appointment was lawful. He says that after after Nxasane took the golden handshake and stepped off as the NDPP at the time, the 17 million rand that he took at the time, there was another acting NDPP who was appointed, and essentially Shaun Abrahams then filled that vacancy. So the argument that the vacancy was filled irregularly is flawed. But remember that the High Court ruling was based on an agreement between the presidency as well as Nxasane, that who accepted this amount, which the court has found that amount was unlawful and it was irregular. So based on that, it found that even Nxasane vacating his office was irregular.
Okay, and all the while, Shaun Abrahams himself has received these recommendations about whether or not he should pursue Jacob Zuma on those charges and 783 counts. So he can make the decision because President Cyril Ramaphosa's hands are tied anyway while that court battle goes on.
Yeah, because the appeal has already been filed, and the Constitutional Court will hear these matters on the 28th of February, which is next week, Wednesday, around this issue, because you have the Council for the Advancement of South Africa's Constitution, CASAC, who's arguing that the NDPP, who's Shaun Abrahams, cannot take such an important decision, considering that the High Court has already found him not to have been appointed regularly, and that's why they want the court now, the Constitutional Court, to bring this matter to finality and say whether Shaun Abrahams does indeed have the power to decide whether former President Jacob Zuma should be prosecuted or not.
Dirk Coetzee, the professor we were speaking to earlier, said he did think there would be consultation. This is such an important decision at such a crucial time.
It is.
So can we expect sort of a delay until this court process about who should be in the job plays out?
I think the delay would not even if it's the court. Remember that the court arguments would be on Wednesday, so that's just a couple of days from now. But very important though, when we spoke to the NPA spokesperson, William Fako, is that he said that the NDPP has now added another process to deciding whether or not to prosecute or to continue with the prosecution, and that added process is that the prosecution team that has made these recommendations would now have to debrief the entire leadership of the NPA, which include the deputies of Shaun Abrahams, and only after then would Shaun Abrahams then take a decision. So we still have another couple of weeks, and also considering that Shaun Abrahams has given an undertaking to the NDP, or rather to CASAC, that it would give CASAC a 2 weeks notice before the announcement is made whether to prosecute former President Jacob Zuma or not.
Aldrin, we're running out of time, but very quickly, any leaks, any speculation about what the president himself argued in relation to why he should not be prosecuted?
Well, I have to say that they've been they've been really good with this one. But one thing that we know for sure that could be in those in the remedial action that the President Jacob Zuma has filed is the issue around the the report that was used, the KPMG report that was used. Remember that the guy who compiled the report is Johan van der Walt, who has been discredited from the SARS Rogue Unit report, and President Jacob Zuma's legal team, even after the Supreme Court of Appeal made the decision and made the ruling to uphold that he must be prosecuted, made that argument that this would be an interesting matter to look in, considering that Johan van der Walt, this man who's been now discredited, is the same person who compiled the report which led to these 18 charges against President Jacob Zuma.
Legal, political and corporate intrigue in South Africa. Thank you so much, senior reporter Aldrin Sampear. We take a short break. We'll be back.